Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So today's the first week of fall and it definitely feels like we are in our fall market. We definitely don't have the intensity that we had in the summer, but I would say this feels still quite busy and what it would normally feel like when we have a busier fall market. So let's dive into the numbers this week. So in Georgetown this week, we had 23 properties sell, which is a good number. We did see up to like 30 when we were in a really hot time in August, but 23 is still a solid week in terms of sales. 11 of those were over asking, so we are definitely still seeing a lot of competition out there. So in terms of new listings this week, we had 20 new properties enter the market. So that means our sales are back to outpacing our new listings, which is definitely not going to help with inventory levels. But this is the time of year that we do start to see more people listing their homes for a pre-Christmas move. So hopefully we can get some relief in terms of inventory numbers. In Acton this week, we had 3 properties sell. All of them were at or over asking, so still busy there, but we were seeing like 7 to 9 properties selling, so maybe a bit of a slowdown in Acton. We do have quite a bit of variety in terms of inventory available, so I think in the coming weeks we will see that sort of get eaten up. We did have 7 new properties enter the market there, so inventory is going to be up in Acton. So it will be interesting to see if next week we have a bit higher sales as our inventory climbs there. In Glen Williams this week, we had no properties sell, but we did have 2 new properties enter the market. And a unique thing right now with Glen Williams is we have 2 lower price point properties available. So if you've been looking to get into the Glen under $700,000, now would be a good time to look. In Limehouse this week, we had no sales, but we did have 1 new listing. In the rural market, we had good sales. We had 5 properties sell, which is a high number for the rural area. We only had 1 new property enter the market, so that's good news for rural because we were starting to see their inventory really start to jump. In terms of active inventory this week, we have 102 active listings, which is down slightly from last week, 12 in the sold conditional status, so that is the same as last week. In Georgetown, though, our inventory has dropped below 50 again. We're at 49 active listings, which is, again, such a low number. When we're looking at our usual price points, so under $700,000 took a dip last week, and we're down to only 7 active listings. The only price point that went up, because we were really struggling, was the $700,000 to $800,000 price point is up to 7 active listings. But as usual, I anticipate that number is going to drop right back down next week because whenever we see it go up, we see it go right back down. So 800 to $1 million, we have 12 active listings, which is the same as last week, but we did have quite a few properties sell in that price point, but we've seen a lot come on. So it's just a really transient price point. I would say it's the one that sort of moves the most right now. The interesting price point to me still is over $1 million. We are now back down to 23 active listings in that price point. I have been talking to a lot of realtors about sort of what's been happening with their listings and watching what happens with mine, and I just cannot get over how busy our over $1 million price point is right now. I personally feel like our $1 million plus price point is actually busier than our lower price points. When you're talking to an agent that's getting 30 to 60 showings on a $1 million plus property, that is crazy numbers. And under 800,000 isn't getting that many. Like, I mean, they're still getting a lot, but not as many as the $1 million plus. Again, I think this is a really fascinating trend to watch. We saw it spike and it's back down again. So with this pent up demand in that price point, I think we are gonna continue to see that inventory drop. So now in Acton, as predicted, inventory is up to 16 active listings, which is a normal-ish number for there, but we'll see what happens next week because a lot of properties came up in their busy price points. I think it's gonna go back down. So Glen Williams is up to 5 active listings this week and Limehouse is also up to 5. So those are good numbers for that area. At least there's something to choose from. And rural is down because, again, we saw our sales outpacing our listings. So we're down to 27 active listings in the rural market. So with the rural numbers, this is a price point that sees a lot more activity when the in-town market is busy. So I think that trend's going to continue while we struggle with inventory in town. So overall, September is, I don't think, anywhere near as busy as July and especially not as busy as August. but this is still busy. It's just we're kind of coming off such a high that this feels kind of a bit lower than it was, but this is still a very busy September. We have tons of bidding wars, tons of activity happening. It's just still quite busy. The good news is this is typically a time of year when people start to list their homes so they can move before Christmas. Kids are settled in school and now those people are thinking about listing. So I'm really optimistic that we are gonna see some new inventory hitting the market in the coming weeks that might slightly help with overall supply and demand balance. I still think we're gonna weigh pretty heavy on the buyer demand for a while, but again, COVID cases are rising. We're watching what this does really closely. So much like the last 12 weeks, the story is still the same. Sales are up, listings are down, and we are still in a very busy market. So come back next Tuesday and we'll see if this influx in COVID cases has any impact on the market. And again, if you have been thinking of selling, now is a great time to get your property on the market. Have a great week, everyone.